What's up, you guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 3 different pentatonics that you can play over one Lydian functioning type of chord. But before that, I want to invite you guys over to my Patreon page, where you can actually find the backing track that I used at the beginning of the video and all sorts of notation and tabs for most of my lessons that I have on YouTube. Now, coming back to my lesson, this is a trick or concept that Steve Vai actually employs a lot, be it using the pentatonic scale or minor triads, or just triads in general. A lot of people actually do this using different triads. But I love the way Steve Vai applies different pentatonics, because there's some very specific type of phrases that he likes to use using the pentatonic scale and using a little bit of whammy bar. And you actually probably heard those already right at the beginning of the video. Now, the whole trick behind this is that you get 3 different pentatonics, be it major pentatonics or minor pentatonics. I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but you can actually choose which ones you can think about, or in which style you can actually think about these pentatonics. So without further ado, let me just get right on to the lesson. So to begin with, the actual backing track at the beginning is in E Lydian. I'm not going to be talking about E Lydian. I'm going to be talking about C Lydian to keep things a little bit simpler, since we are shifting a lot through the different intervals of the scale. Now, the first pentatonic that we're going to be applying over C Lydian or over a C Lydian chord is probably the most obvious one, and it's going to be the one beginning from the root. So we're just going to play the major pentatonic scale from the root of the chord. If we're in C, it's just going to be the C major pentatonic scale. It's going to be functioning as 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Those are the different intervals that are going to be responding to that chord. The other way that you can think about this is as the relative minor. So if you prefer to think about minor pentatonic scales, you can just think about the relative minor from C, and it's going to be A minor. So you could play A minor pentatonic scale over a C Lydian type of backing track, or over a C Lydian type of chord, like a major 7 sharp 11 type of chord. And it's going to react in exactly the same type of way as the major pentatonic scale, because it's the relative. It's the same exact notes. Both of those scales are going to be functioning as 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Now that's going to sound a little bit like this. Now, the next pentatonic scale I'm going to be talking about is the pentatonic scale that you can play from the 5th of the chord. So coming over back to C Lydian, we're going to be playing the G major pentatonic scale over that C Lydian type of chord. And the way that's going to function is as 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. The way we do this is we look at the notes within G major pentatonic, and we actually compare those notes against the root of the C chord, or the C Lydian type of tonality. And when we do that, you end up with some notes that actually function as 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. So already, you're still using the pentatonic scale, but it's going to sound a little bit different because it's reacting to that chord with a second. It's got the third, so it still gives you that major sound. It has the 5 and the 6, which are already within the normal major pentatonic scale, but you also have a 7th, a major 7th. So it's going to give you more of a major 9 type of sound. Now you can think about it as G major pentatonic, or look at the relative minor, which is E minor pentatonic. Now this substitution is actually going to sound something like this. And then finally, the last pentatonic scale that you can apply over a Lydian chord, or stagnant chord, or Lydian backing track, or whatever type of Lydian function you want to apply this over, is actually the major pentatonic scale beginning from the 2nd of the chord. So again, coming back to C, you would be playing the D major pentatonic scale over a C major 7 sharp 11 type of chord, or over a C Lydian type of functionality. Now this one's actually going to react with a 2, a 3, a sharp 4, a 6, and a 7. If you look at the intervallic formula, you actually find the sharp 11 in there, or the sharp 4, which is the characteristic note within Lydian. So this is probably the most Lydian sounding pentatonic substitution that you're going to find within these three different pentatonics. Again, because you have that sharp 4 in there. If you prefer to think of it as a minor pentatonic scale, go to the relative from D major pentatonic, as you're going to be playing the B minor pentatonic scale. And again, it's going to be the exact same function because both D major pentatonic and B minor pentatonic share the exact same notes, and they both react in the same way against a C major 7 sharp 11 or C Lydian type of chord or functionality. Now this application is going to sound a little bit like this. Now you're probably asking why this actually works. Well, if you take all three of these and mash them up together, you take the notes of all three of these pentatonic scales and just mash them up together. You sum all the different parts. Yes, you're gonna get some repeating notes in there, but right at the end, you just finish with all 7 notes of the Lydian scale. And that's pretty much why it works. You're just finding out the different pentatonics within the Lydian scale. Now, if you're wondering how exactly you find out about these 3 different pentatonics, well, again, it's going to boil down to thinking about either the major pentatonic scale or the minor pentatonic scale. If you want to think about it in the major pentatonic scale, you just look at the harmonized scale from Lydian. So you have a 1 major chord, a 2 major chord, a 3 minor chord, a sharp 4 diminished chord, because again, we are in Lydian, so you have that sharp 4. We have a 5 major chord, a 6 minor chord, and a 7 minor chord. So all you have to do is figure out the 3 different major chords in there. And if you notice, we have a major chord from the 1, from the 2, and from the 5. And all you got to do is play a pentatonic scale from there. If you want to know how they function, you just analyze the notes within those major pentatonic scales against the root of the chord that you're playing against. And you're going to find out all the different functions. Like I mentioned before, here's actually the way all 3 of these pentatonic scales function against the Lydian chord progression. Now, the same thing can be done with a minor pentatonic scale. All you got to do is look at the 3 different minor chords within the Lydian harmonized scale. And again, looking closely, just look for the 3 minor chords. You have a minor chord from the 3rd degree, you have a minor chord from the 6th, and a minor chord from the 7th. So already you know that over a Lydian chord, you can play a minor pentatonic scale from the 3rd, a minor pentatonic scale from the 6th, and a minor pentatonic scale from the 7th. That's all you really have to know to be playing these 3 different pentatonics over a Lydian chord progressions. Now, if you want to figure out all the different pentatonic scales that you can play over all the other different modes, you could check them out on my book, The Art of Scale Weaving, which right at the end of chapter 1, there's a whole section just kind of mixing and matching those different pentatonics with the corresponding heptatonic scale or mode. You could also just apply the same process of the harmonized scale to each of the different modes, and you're going to be able to find the 3 either major pentatonic scales or minor pentatonic scales that correspond to the specific modes. What I do is I tend to go with major pentatonic for major modes like Ionian, Lydian, and Mixolydian, and minor pentatonic for the minor modes like Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian. That way I can actually visualize all 3 different pentatonic scales within the root, parent mode, or parent scale. All right, that's it for this video. If you guys liked it, remember you can follow me on all kind of social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm now on Patreon. I want to thank all of my Patreons for helping create this video through their contributions on Patreon. If you want to take private lessons, you can go over to my website, juanantoniomusic.com, and you'll also find my book, The Art of Scale Weaving there, and my 2 different box sets with the guys from Guitar Tutorials. All right, thanks for watching.